In West Asia, tensions are flaring up again, this time between Israel and the Houthis. On Thursday, Israeli strikes hit Yemen. The target was the capital of Yemen, the city of Sana'a, and the port city of Hodeidah. The strikes targeted power infrastructure and oil facilities. 9 people were killed, 3 others were injured. Israel has called this operation successful and said that these were targeted strikes.
The IDF conducted precise strikes on Houthi military targets in Yemen, including ports and energy infrastructures in Sana'a, which the Houthis have been using in ways that effectively contributed to their military actions. Israel will not hesitate to act in order to defend itself and its citizens from the Houthis' attacks.
Videos from Sana'a show the impact of the attacks. Power stations on fire, damaged silos, leaks from the plants, and firefighters trying to control the damage. The attack was in response to a Houthi strike. Early on Thursday, the Israeli army intercepted a missile coming from Yemen. The target was central Israel, where a school was damaged. No one was injured, though. Now, Israel is citing this as the reason to attack Yemen.
The missile force of the Yemeni armed forces carried out a significant military operation, targeting 2 vital and sensitive military targets of the Israeli enemy in the occupied Jaffa area using 2 Palestine II hypersonic ballistic missiles. The operation achieved its goals successfully, by the grace of Allah.
So the Houthis strike Israel, and the Israeli army hits back, and it triggers a series of tit-for-tat attacks. But why Yemen? Because Yemen is home to the Houthis. This is an armed group, much like Hamas in Gaza or Hezbollah in Lebanon, and all 3 of these groups are allied. They're all backed by Israel's greatest enemy, Iran. And these armed groups, Hamas, Hezbollah, and Houthis, are together known as the Axis of Resistance. After October 7, the Houthis threw in their lot with Hamas. They began fighting a proxy war against Israel. The first target was the Red Sea. The Houthis would attack any ship that they thought was linked to Israel. The attack started last November and disrupted global shipping. Then the Houthis changed tack. They started attacking Israel directly. They struck buildings in Tel Aviv. Of course, Israel could not have that. They were fighting a war in Gaza. The last thing they needed was attacks from another enemy, so Israel decided to respond. They struck Yemen. It was a message to the Houthis, basically, to stop their attacks. And all of this happened months ago. And since then, the tit-for-tat strikes have been on. Now, let's look at this from Israel's perspective. Their first target was Hamas. So Israel eliminated the top leadership of Hamas. They flattened the Gaza Strip, and they tried to demolish Hamas as a military force. Then they turned to the Hezbollah, kill their leader, Hassan Nasrallah, and hundreds of other Hezbollah fighters with pager attacks. Israel carried out continuous strikes in Lebanon, leaving Hezbollah as a weakened force. So 2 groups out of 3, Hamas and Hezbollah, in the so-called Axis of Resistance, decimated. The third group, the Houthis, remain a challenge, though, because of multiple reasons. The first reason is the location. Remember, both Gaza and Lebanon are on the border with Israel, but Yemen is far away. So a distant target for Israel. That's the first challenge. The second challenge is the cost of engagement. The Houthis control large parts of Yemen. They have a stronghold to launch new attacks. But Israel may not want a direct military campaign in Yemen. It would stretch their resources. Reason number 3 is global shipping. The Houthis are at a vantage point. Look at this map. Yemen gives them access to crucial routes. The Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden both lead into the Suez Canal. It's the busiest waterway between Asia and Europe. Around 12% of global trade passes via the Red Sea, also 10% of seaborne oil. Any conflict here could derail global shipping supply chains. Ships will have to take a longer route. Insurance covers will go up, and we, the consumers, will have to pay for it. So any conflict in the Red Sea will affect the whole world, which is why Israel is sticking to targeted strikes. The question is, for how much longer? If the Houthi attacks continue, Israel will be forced to escalate, and that may lead to a whole new front in this war, one that could draw in other regional players as well. Whichever way you look at it, it's the opposite of ideal.